With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard, live in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort Casino for the next 3 hours. A big boy tonight. We have the Orange Bowl, one of the two semifinal games in the college football playoff, which we will spend a lot of time on today. 3 different guests talking about that game and the game tomorrow night. Paul Stone, Brad Powers, and Alex White. Alex is awesome. You're probably familiar with Paul Stone and Brad on this show. Alex has been on this show only one time this year. She finished second in the Circa Friday Night Invitational. Kenny White's daughter, phenomenal at betting sports. She's going to be a little bit later on in the program. And Paul Charchian as well in 30 minutes with his thoughts and player props wildcard weekend in the National Football League. Now, how about the news today, Paulie? That rumor, I don't really know if I should call it a report. I'll call it a rumor that the flu was going around with the Notre Dame locker room. And I think that coincided with, at least one sports book, the favorite flipping in this game. Because I didn't even see it. I was away from the screen for a half an hour. Luke, our producer, was all over this. And he's like, yeah, it went to like Penn State -1, but then it quickly flipped back. This is from On3. The Notre Dame locker room is battling a flu outbreak ahead of the Orange Bowl. Those who have it bad, but it sounds like that's mostly backups and special teams players. So now we are back at the Fighting Irish as a 1.5 point favorite in the game.
How does that happen?
How does that happen?
Get out of here.
Right.
They also had the flu against Indiana, some guys too. So do with that what you want. In any event, it should be a low-scoring game, and even though you couldn't grab the 50 or the 49, Paul Stone's on the total. I can only look under, and this is the game that sports books love, that you are rooting for nothing to happen. So I'm going to be anti-fun and boring Paulie tonight with no score first 5.5, no score 6.5. First quarter under, largest lead under, longest touchdown under, and much like the Georgia game, just know who's going to make the mistake at quarterback. But if you don't make mistakes, field position battle should be a low-scoring game, war of attrition, Notre Dame banged up, and I still can't see how this goes over 45.5 as well. Should be all the makings of a 1980 old-school football game.
Shall we dive into the anytime touchdown market and look specifically for no touchdown? I bet it at 80-1 last week against Georgia. We were live until you jinxed it on the air right before halftime.
Yep.
But this, I don't know, I'm exactly like you. I hope this is 3-3 late in the third quarter.
I think that's in play because you got a number 2 defense giving up 13 points per game. 12 wins in a row. They've been awesome defensively. I guess the only hiccup was against USC, right? Shut down Georgia. You want to say backup quarterback, okay. Dominated Indiana. The scores were in garbage time. And then it's, do you trust Aller? And I don't.
No, neither do I.
No, and if a quarterback's going to make a mistake, it's going to be him. And the other thing, too, is I don't think Notre Dame's going to beat themselves. They're so well coached, well prepared, and Penn State has benefited from 7 turnovers in the 2 games with Madsen and Jennings losing their minds. And the other wing is Franklin. So here we go. It all lines up for Franklin, 1-14 at Penn State against top 5 teams. It feels like first to 17 wins.
Oh,
that might be too aggressive.
Might be first to 13.
That's
first
possible.
To 10. Who knows?
That's possible.
So I'm also, you're exactly right. Franklin, all the negatives are out there about the guy when he takes on really good teams. They've been awesome so far in the playoffs. I would also consider the SMU, how they absolutely lost their minds early in that game, and the 2 pick sixes gave them a clear advantage there. I don't think they were not playing good football. I thought SMU was a better team for the first quarter and a half.
And Boise had more yards and more first downs.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
They were outgained, and Drew Aller had 13 completions in that game. But you get, Boise has 3 turnovers. That's going to cost them, and it did. I'll flip it, and I'll give you some negatives here on the Fighting Irish. They had 244 yards against Georgia. 90 of those yards came in the air. Like, they're not come on, the passing attack, this looks like 1960s football with Notre Dame.
Yep.
It's all about Leonard running the football and also their two backs. But, again, their star running back, Jeremiah Love, who had that 98-yard touchdown run against Indiana in the first round, he had 19 yards on 6 carries last week, clearly hobbled. His rushing prop has dropped all the way from 52.5. What's the latest you saw on that?
32.5.
So it's down 20 yards.
Yeah.
And kickoff's only a couple of hours away.
Uh-huh.
The longest completion for Notre Dame in that game was 14 yards. Now, when you look at the ground game for Penn State, 702 yards in their last 3 games. Their running backs are special. They killed Oregon on the ground in the Big Ten title game. Both guys were really good in their playoff games. However, Notre Dame's defense, Paulie, as you pointed out, no doubt it's the real deal, and they allow 3.6 yards per game. Like, what it's going to be,
Yep.
what gives there, right? Is it Notre Dame's defense getting blasted by the Penn State's running backs, or are those two guys, Singleton and Allen, yeah, are they going to be minimized tonight in this game by a really, really stout Notre Dame defense?
It's all I think Penn State has the edge with the 2 extra days rest. No doubt about that. But it also goes back to what are you drawing up as an OC and what are you going to try to take away defensively? As we saw Penn State focus and want to shut down Genty, and then Madsen had some big plays and he hits the tight end wide open. It's a 3-point game deep in the third quarter. I think they'll contain the rushing attack and make Aller beat them. And as we said yesterday, the Big Ten title game hasn't aged well, considering how bad Oregon looked defensively against Ohio State. But does he turn it over? And does it flip here? Is Penn State the beneficiaries of all the turnovers in the first 2 playoff games? Notre Dame, number 1 in takeaways this year, and 155 points off said turnovers. And that could decide. We saw what happened in the Georgia game, right? Horrible coaching, horrible job by Smart, and that flipped the game along with the kick return to start the second half. So I don't think there's going to be any. I'm concerned about the Notre Dame offense, absolutely, because you have a banged up Love. How about these juicy middles? You got like 20, 25-yard middles on
Sure.
Leonard rushing yards and Love rushing yards. So I don't think they'll have success on the ground. And then it comes down to Leonard, and it's going to be dink and dunk. If the one guy who I think who can run the ball will be Leonard, but with Love banged up and Flanagan hurt and Cross hurt and Mills is out, this has got to be 16-13 to me. It's got to be 17-14.
Well, as popular as the under has been on the Jeremiah Love rushing yards prop, you can also flip that and say it's the other way with the Riley Leonard rushing yards prop, the quarterback for Notre Dame. 14 carries, 80 yards against Georgia in the last game. Against Indiana, now keep in mind Indiana on the year had one of, if not the best rushing defense in the entire country. And he had 11 carries for 30 yards in that game and 1 touchdown. But if you go back and look at his game log, because his rushing attempts prop tonight is 11.5. I think that feels like the right number. Although I think that also the game plan here for Notre Dame is to get him involved yet again, and he's going to even take off when the guys are not going to be open in the passing game. But 11.5, he did go over that number a handful of times this year. If you go back from game number 1 forward this season, it was 12, 11, 11, 12, 13, 6, 10, 10. So, perfect number. I can't make a case for either one that I love. The rushing yards prop would be the one that I really, really like, but that's already ballooned up again to like 49.5. And early in the week, if you were playing the ladder props on Riley Leonard to get plus money at 50 plus, 60 plus, that kind of thing, I think that was probably the right approach with him. I'll throw you this too. Tyler Warren, tight end for Penn State, phenomenal player. His prop as low as 63.5 tonight. The receptions prop is 5.5. On the season, 98 catches, 1,158 yards, 8 touchdowns. That includes the playoffs. 9-6 to the over, 5.5 catches. And he's done that in 6 out of the last 7 games. But he went over 63.5 yards in 7 games this year. So it was far from like every game he was blowing by this number, obviously. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as low as 63.5. He did have 5 straight overs at 63.5. Entering the playoffs, 2 unders since. But Penn State's going to move the ball, I think, somehow, some way in this game. I'm not expecting like 400 yards by any stretch, but is it going to be out of the backfield with those 2 backs, or will it be this guy through the air because he's so good?
It's a tough handicap from the side total. It's a tough one. But
There are 45 and a halves are still out there.
Yeah, I still think that's too high. And the other thing, too, is if it plays out like I think, and like the Georgia game, I bet over 3.5 field goals, 3-1. And I took first scoring play, Penn State field goal plus 450. You could also do that with Notre Dame as well.
Okay. I know a lot of people here on VSiN, they've been making the case for Notre Dame's first drive to end in a punt.
Who has that?
That's probably a DraftKings, I would think.
Okay.
Maybe a Caesars.
What is it? Even money?
It's like even or minus 105. I think you're right with what you said, by the way. If anybody turns the ball over tonight, again, it's been going Penn State's way.
That's got to stop.
With the turnovers.
Yep.
But Riley Leonard feels like a guy that's not going to go out there and throw like 2 or 3 interceptions tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I just don't see that happening. He's
Yep.
he's very careful with the ball. And he would prefer to take off rather than like force a really bad toss, the way it seems.
Again, the big news this week, huge. We're coming back to Sirius XM starting January 17th. Channel 158 in the Sirius XM app. In addition to the new channel, a new show for Sirius XM, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, Maher and Dustin, every weeknight from 7 to 10 Eastern. Sirius Channel 82. January 17th, VSiN Channel 158 on Sirius XM. Great to be back.
My brother asked me a pretty good question today. That is, what if we get Penn State, Ohio State in the national title game? What will national media say about 2 Big Ten teams playing?
Sure. And it's the Big Ten then has control and tells the SEC what to do.
Mm-hmm.
It would be back-to-back years. The SEC can't even sniff the title game.
His point was exactly what you just said. He's like, after we hear about the SEC everywhere, every week during the football season for years, it's like, finally, if that happens, now what? What are they going to do? Mm-hmm. So it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Email is ftm@vsin.com. You can follow us and hit us up on X as well, at VSiN Live, and Mitch Moss Radio, at Paulie Howard. Up next, that was one high-level basketball game last night. You're telling me that you have a money quote as a result of the game, and to think they were down 2 really good players and we still got that game. Our takeaways from it coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
129-122, your final score. Cavaliers improved to 32-4 last night, 19-1 at home with the loss. OKC goes to 30-6. You give me 7 games of that in the NBA Finals, and I won't turn the TV off for 1 second, and it'll be thrilling basketball for all 7 games. 30 lead changes, 8 ties. The largest lead was 9 points. 11-game win streak now for Cleveland. They meet again next week. Mm-hmm. Here was the problem for OKC. They looked awesome last night, even without Caruso and Chet Holmgren. But down low, they got eviscerated. Allen and Mobley combined, get this, for 46 points, 22 boards, 13 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, and they were 17-24 from the can't beat them that way.
Yeah.
You're going to have to hit 25 threes in the game.
How about what Cleveland did offensively and Mitchell's 3 of 11?
Yeah.
So it goes back to coaching, pass. That's how we're going to beat you. And to do that offensively, number 1 offense against the number 1 defense, incredible. When your best player's 3 of 11. Brian Windhorst at the game, ESPN. The execution in the third quarter, which OKC won 43-41, was the most technically splendid 12 minutes of midseason basketball I've ever witnessed.
My takeaway was, Paulie, much like Spurs-Knicks on Christmas Day, I was blown away at how entertaining and well-played that game was. Mm-hmm. Same thing last night. I don't disagree with him.
Mm-hmm. Cavs walking away with the win is meaningful. But they would admit there's a little space between these teams. Cleveland's ability to run their offense and generate their standard amount of open looks with their great passing and spacing against such a great defense was the most rewarding for them. And I think as a result, you have to buy in and believe. There had to be an adjustment with the futures market. This team is real. I will get to this coming up. The similarities between the Golden State team when they won it are nuts, but they are now minus 220 to get the 1 seed. If the Celtics are going to continue to play with their food, this team's the real deal, and I bet Mobley most improved as well at 8-1. 28-1 when leading at halftime. 32-4. 2 separate 11-game winning streaks. 23 wins by double digits. And as you mentioned, 19-1 at home. It's a great story. Hell of a team.
To your point, the extra passing last night, how many times when they were zipping it around the court, when they would find way, and OKC again is historically good defensively. I get it. Caruso's awesome on defense. No Holmgren, whatever. But Dort was lights out on Mitchell last night, hence him having a terrible game. So was Wallace on him.
Yeah.
But how many times when they would make that extra pass and find like a Wade or a Strus in the corner, and if you give those guys a foot,
right,
it was nothing but net every single time.
And to get that guy back, Strus is going to knock down those open looks, right? So
there's snipers out there.
Yeah, when you look at the roster, you're not blown away. With the team basketball, and I feel good for Allen. Remember when they got swept by the Knicks or lost in 5, whatever it was, he said the lights were too bright, and they're together, chemistry, great coach, and you just see the ball movement, getting everyone involved, and Garland has really taken a big step also with his game.
I will say, like in my head again, comparing that team to another team that comes to mind, it was the Spurs when they got revenge against the Miami Heat, in 2014, when it was some of the most beautiful basketball you're ever going to see. The extra pass, the sharing of the basketball, the open shots, and how they converted and how they executed, won them a title.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how the Cavaliers play and how they played last night.
Atkinson now as high as $4 Coach of the Year.
Wow.
But I just think they're going to be able to do this, and again, with their record. And other than that, you want to call it a fluke, but not respecting Atlanta in the home and home. They've been dynamite because they didn't play well at Boston and could have won the game, and they were in that game. And probably Miami flew with one of those other losses.
You said they're what price right now to get the 1 seed?
Minus 220.
Okay.
Also take a look at best record at the All-Star break, too. But again, you're running out of time here. I mean, we're almost into February. So these prices continue to go up, 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 and up with the juice.
Going to tough to beat them out for Coach of the Year. However, there is a team in action tonight, and if they keep doing this now, Paulo Banchero was listed as questionable. He's been out since October 30th, and he was playing by far and away the best basketball of his career.
What does the seed have to be?
For the Magic?
Top 4 seed?
Top 4 seed.
Yeah, with your 3 best players out, still winning games?
There's no Suggs. And, by the way, now there's no timetable for Suggs to return.
Yep.
So make it number 4 with this team. So I originally wanted to bet the Magic, thinking that Paulo might come back. Suggs was going to be okay in this game. Now, T-Wolves are up to 6 now. So I don't think I'm going to get involved, but here's what I did do. Anthony Edwards now on the year, 25-11 over his 3.5 made threes. This was a thing at the very beginning of the year because books were not adjusting quickly enough to his made threes. And then it disappeared because the numbers got too high. And then the amount of attempts that he was taking from downtown also dropped. He's averaging 12 attempts from downtown in January. That number dropped to 7.9 for the entire month of December. His last 3 games, 7 of 11, 6 of 13, and 10 of 15. So it's back to early season Edwards, and I thought it was more than fair tonight at a good price at 3.5 over minus 104, minus 105 for made threes with him, and I climbed the ladder a little bit with him as well.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is you have to go for it and make some moves. And I was listening to the Brian Windhorst Hoop Collective podcast. Orlando hasn't made an in-season trade to improve the team in like 9 years.
Wow.
And it was Markelle Fultz. At the time, he didn't think it was, improvement. So.
Oh, my God. Markelle Fultz has been in the league that long?
Yeah.
I guess that was the Jason Tatum draft.
Whatever it was, yeah. 6-7 years ago, whatever. Right. Wow. But you got to go for this now. And you just been so bad for so long, and you got that taste last year that you have to make a move at the deadline and try to improve this team, and you're in the mix, no doubt. And Mosley's in the mix for these awards, too, if they continue to win. I don't know how he's doing it, but I don't want to do it with Minnesota. I don't trust them, and they've been a major disappointment. And as I said earlier in the week, they had no business winning that Clipper game until Edwards turned into Superman late with the threes.
Yeah. He had, 53 against the Pistons, too? That's the game that he hit the 10 threes?
Yeah.
So he's been, I guess.
Chemistry isn't right.
No.
That's right.
And
no.
I guess he's just going back to early season form again, saying, well, we kind of stink, so I'm taking 23s a game now.
And speaking of chemistry, this Hawks-Suns game's interesting. The Hawks playing in good ball. But will Beal and Jurkic do the right thing and embrace coming off the bench? And Beal said all the right things about, they're trying to trade him. He has a no trade. He makes all that money. But they're best served with him coming off the bench. He says, I'm not a bench player. I am a starter. But he embraced the guys who've been getting in the starting lineup, and he had a great game off the bench the first time. We'll see if Jurkic does the same thing. But here, another big disappointment where you thought Budenholzer, Coach of the Year, I love their win total over, and they were off to a hot start, and then Durant got hurt, and it went to bleep.
Yep.
This team cannot be under 5. This is embarrassing. that they're under 500, and we'll see if they embrace this role now. Short sample, but it went well in a couple games, but I think it's still too many points here. They have to prove it to me that they're able to put together a winning streak here and actually cover big numbers. Good start, though, beating Philly on the road.
Yeah, definitely check the status of the Hawks starters for tonight. Jalen Johnson ruled out. He's not going to play in this game. There are some others, too. I think that just pay attention to it if you're going to be betting that contest. Booker is 23-7, under 4.5 rebounds on the year at the prop analyzer at vsin.com. Dyson Daniels, 24-9, under 4.5 assists. Hornets-Lakers game, of course, postponed because of the fire and because of the horrible weather in the Dallas area, which might impact how many people can get there for the Cotton Bowl tomorrow night.
Yep.
The Blazers-Mavericks game has been bumped up to 7:30 Eastern time tonight, 4:30 Pacific. That team is 2-5 since Luka went down. Kyrie also out.
Yeah.
PJ, no, here's the thing. He's 23 and PJ Washington under 18.5 points on the year, 23-6. But that's, again, that number, somebody has to score points with those two guys out. So I'm going to be very careful on something like that. Quentin Grimes averaging 15.5 points, almost 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in the games that Luka has been out. He had 23, 9, and 6 against the Lakers. He also made 6 threes in that game.
Are you on the Heat? Tell me you're on the Heat tonight.
Tell me why I need to be on the Heat tonight.
They just played Utah at home and lost by 36 points. Revenge? Humiliated. No? They're hard to figure out. Routed at home by Indiana. Routed at home against Utah. That was after the Butler suspension was announced. Should have beat Sacramento, lost in double overtime, and then the next night pounded Golden State. It's hard. You can't get a read on this team.
I know.
But after being humiliated at home, I would think this is a good opportunity here for the Heat to get back and stick it to the Jazz.
They're a very difficult team to figure out, as you said.
But
I know this. The Jazz play in some crazy high-scoring games, so it's 222.5.
Yep.
That could be an angle, too.
That's
here.
right. Look at their scores going back. Yep.
Yeah.
In sports betting and trading, understanding probability, the ultimate game changer. Unlock the secrets of high probability trading with Todd Bubba Horowitz, former floor trader and seasoned sports bettor, over 45 years of experience. Visit BubbaTrading.com/VSiN today. Promo code VSiN500 to save $500. Don't miss your chance. Sharpen your strategy and gain the edge in your trading game. BubbaTrading.com/VSiN. Promo code VSiN500.
What do you think about the Cavaliers-Celtics if that's the Eastern Conference Finals? Cavaliers with home court.
Be a hell of a series. I don't know what they'd make it. How high would Boston be? But I would have to look at Cleveland at a nice plus
I don't
price.
think Boston would be too high.
They
about depend. I mean, we're
really
3
not.
months away from even the regular season ending, but
Yeah.
I think it'd be a really fun series.
Be a hell of a matchup, right? And maybe the Bucks can make this interesting, too. Loser on, I don't know what that was, second quarter out of the Spurs, but the Bucks are hard to figure out, too, but they have the talent.
Paul Charchian on the program coming up next. He is loaded with player props for Wild Card Weekend, National Football League, and I was surprised to see how low this number was.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Player props here, Wild Card Weekend, our weekly spot. Fantasy Football Hall of Famer Paul Charchian. You can still get in, draft a fantasy football team for the playoffs at guillotineleagues.com. He is on the Progressive guest line. Good afternoon, Charge. Let's get right into this. You sent over some props the other day, and I was like, wait a second, that can't be the right number. It's Saquon Barkley, not rushing yards, but receptions. Take it away.
Over 1.5? That's it? So 2 parts to this. And by the way, 2 weeks ago, we hit on Aaron Jones going over receptions against Green Bay. We're going to go over receptions against Green Bay again here, over 1.5. Now, for most of the season, Barkley, a lock for 2 receptions. But lately, the receptions have dried up. Well, how come? It's because Barkley was on this mission for 2,000 yards. And in December, they dialed back his receptions because the rushing numbers were so big. He had a 29-carry game. He had a 31-carry game in the last 2 weeks. So they were really pushing Barkley hard. They didn't want to throw to him. And so they dialed back the receptions. That's all going to come back now. He's hit the 2,000. He's rested from the last week's bye. The big reason Barkley's going to go over, though, is Green Bay. Over the entire regular season, Green Bay has allowed the 3rd most running back receptions in the league, 5.5 per game. They've also allowed the third most running back receiving yards, but I prefer the reception line on this one. More importantly, over the last 6 games, Green Bay allows the most running back receptions. And over those 6 games, 11 different backs have topped 1.5 receptions. And here's your real clincher. Get this. 12 straight opposing lead runners have topped 1.5 receptions against Green Bay. 12 straight. What are the odds Saquon Barkley's going to break that streak?
That's phenomenal. Great breakdown. While you're a Hall of Famer, let's stick in this game. You have 2 more that you like. Let's go to the opposing quarterback here with Jordan Love. What do you want to do with him?
We're going to take the under here. 2 big factors at play. You've got the great Eagles secondary and Jordan Love devolving into a dink and dunk passer. And it's all because of the loss of Christian Watson, which really hobbles this offense. In the last 3 games without Christian Watson, this ACL, Jordan Love's average distance of target drops off a cliff. Now, normally with Christian Watson in the game, his average distance of target is 8.5 yards. That's the 4th longest in the NFL. But then you take Watson off of this team. In those games, his average distance of target drops down to just over 6. That's the 2nd shortest behind only Cooper Rush. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, it's only a couple of yards, whatever, 1.5, 2.5 yards, who cares? But here's the thing. It makes a huge difference extrapolated over the whole game. In the 154 instances in which a quarterback only averaged 6 passing yards per pass or less, the average total passing yards that game is only 170 yards. This line is 223 passing yards. And so there's that. And then, of course, the Eagles secondary, which is awesome. Since week 6, when Cooper DeJean got put in and become the starter, here's the Eagles' ranks in pass defense. Number 1 in passing yards allowed, number 1 in yards per attempt allowed, number 5 in completion percentage, and number 1 in pass breakups. And for the 10 passers who went under today's line for Jordan Love of 223 passing yards, they average 70 yards under 70. So I don't see it all coming together for Jordan Love with Christian Watson out in this game.
Okay, 2 quarterbacks again. Let's go with this one I love. Baker Mayfield got this on 1 rush last week on that big 3rd and 14 play. Baker Mayfield rushing yards.
Love this. Quarterback scrambles are a bit random, but I'm going to try to build a case, and you can tell me if you think it works. Of the teams playing this weekend, the Commanders have allowed the most quarterback rushes and the 2nd most quarterback rushing yards at 19.5 per game. But more specifically, if you cull Washington's opposing quarterbacks down to those who can run or functional runners, Daniel Jones twice, Jalen Hurts twice, Deshaun Watson, Lamar Jackson, Trey Lance, and in week 1, Baker Mayfield himself, those quarterbacks, the Commanders allow 34 rushing yards per game. That's double what we need. I need Baker to go over 17.5. Also, Baker Mayfield's gone over that number in 3 of the last 4 games. And last thing I'll mention, Washington pressures quarterbacks, but they can't seal the deal. They only have a 17% conversion rate of turning quarterback pressures into sacks. So that means the other 84% of the time, that pressure is not turning into a sack. Baker Mayfield, one of the better scrambling quarterbacks out there, and that's how he gets the 17.5 rushing yards scrambling.
Okay, love it. How about Josh Allen?
Josh Allen, we're going to go over on Josh Allen, 229 passing yards. And I know what you might be thinking right now, up against Patrick Surtain. Oh, hold me, I'm scared. Before you go fetal with fear, we're going to build a case here. The Broncos secondary was elite. First 11 games of the year, arguably the best secondary in football. But lately, Broncos secondary is getting roasted by good quarterbacks, not even not so good quarterbacks. So not including last week when they played the Chiefs reserves. The previous 5 games, Broncos allowing an average of 331 passing yards per game. That is 110 more than I need for today's line. And those numbers came against only one elite passer, Joe Burrow. The rest of them, Justin Herbert, Jameis Winston, Anthony Richardson, and the combo platter of Gardner Minshew and Desmond Ridder. That's it. So roll all that together. Allen's been over this line in 7 out of the last 10. He's got his full receiving crew, Coleman and Cooper and Samuel. Everybody's healthy. I think he hits the over with relative ease here, Josh Allen.
Any inside information that you can share? My guess is no, but what's going to happen with the Monday night game with the Vikings and the Rams?
I do not have inside information on this, but I want to mention this. If it does get moved, people should understand Minnesotans en masse go to Arizona for the winter. And so you've got all these retirees. That would turn into a virtual home game for Minnesota if this thing gets moved to Arizona. So this would be really, really helpful for Minnesota.
Yeah, here's the thing, Charge, right? Because the Rams were, I should say the Vikings, they were bet all the way down to like -1 or pick them at some spots. I think I got to that number. If this is moved from LA, and they don't have a great home field, but it's a playoff game, to like Arizona, and your point, Vikings will go back to 3, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that'd be worth a couple of points.
Yep. What's your favorite player prop in this game?
Well, can I give you one more we haven't hit yet? Do we have time?
Yeah, for sure. We have got plenty of time.
Okay, good. All right, great. I want to talk about Kyren Williams in this game, this Vikings game. Over 81.5 rushing yards. For the first 13 weeks of the season, the Vikings' run defense was top 3 in basically everything. Yards per carry, success rate, yards after contact, EPA, DVOA, whatever you wanted. But this rushing defense since then has withered. Luke, I've got an image for you guys. This is the current Vikings run defense right here. Take a look at this. Right there. That's it. There's your Vikings. That's how bad it's withered for the Minnesota Vikings run defense of late. Here's where they rank since week 13. Yards per carry, 20th. Rushing yard EPA, 17th. Yards after contact, 21st. And run defense success rate, the Vikings are down to 31st. Since week 13. Here's Kyren Williams. He posted 97 yards against Minnesota in week 8 when the Vikings run defense was good. Now, and Williams gets a massive workload. He has the NFL's highest snap rate of any running back by a mile, 87%. The next closest is Jonathan Taylor at 80%. And add in that injury to Blake Corum, Williams could see like 100% of the running back snaps against the Vikings. And in the last month, McVay pounded Kyren Williams with 29 rushes on 2 different occasions. And then last week, pulled him back to just 13 rushes to give him fresh legs against Minnesota. Kyren Williams over 81.5 rushing yards.
Okay, that is dynamite. One more here. I like Derrick Henry to go over 5.5 receiving yards, but you want to look at another back for the Ravens. Who and why?
Well, and I'm absolutely with you if Justice Hill misses. But if Justice Hill comes in, I think that might be the better play here. He's trying to come back from a concussion, but he's doing full workouts at this stage, and usually that means you're going to get lifted from the concussion protocol. Now, Hill has missed 3 games, and in those 3 games, Derrick Henry has caught 2 passes in all of those, which he does not normally do. Normally, Henry is completely binary, 0 or 1. I guess literally binary. He's 0 or 1 receptions a game. Justice Hill, though, really changes things a lot. His line is 17.5 receiving yards. He hit this line 7 different times this year. That's half of his games, and he was trending towards more usage lately. In Justice Hill's last 4 games, he was averaging 4 catches for 28 yards. And the Steelers have allowed an opposing runner to top today's line, 17.5 receiving yards, 6 straight games, and 7 of the last 8, and that includes Justice Hill in week 11, who caught for 28 yards against this same team. So I think the play here is Justice Hill, not Derrick Henry. But if Justice Hill misses, then Derrick Henry over 4.5 is an absolute pound that number. I mean, that's a humongous opportunity right there.
Very good. Last one. No time to break it down, but you like Tucker Kraft under 3.5 catches for Green Bay.
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of factors here, and he's a hit or miss guy, and this lines up like a miss game.
All right, that was awesome. Again, if you want to draft a fantasy football team for the playoffs, go to guillotineleagues.com. They're drafting still as we speak. Dynamite to talk to you again, man. We'll see you soon. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, friends. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Enjoy the games this weekend. He was on the Progressive Guest Line. Win some, lose some is up next. I don't know if this qualifies as a bad beat, but I can tell you this, it completely stunk to be on the losing side of this wager. I'll give you the details on it coming up.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Notre Dame, Penn State kicking off tonight in the Orange Bowl. And, well, you know what? Penn State now favored at more than a couple of books. They are favored at FanDuel. They're favored at DraftKings. They're favored at BetMGM. It's a pick 'em at Caesars. They're favored at a bunch of spots. offshore the way it looks as well. And to discuss it with a couple of best bets, Alex White joins the program now. She does Sports by the Book over at the South Point, and she's also the daughter of a professional sports bettor, Kenny White, the name that I'm sure that you have known for many, many years. And she finished in second place at the Circa Friday Football Invitational right here on VSiN with a stellar year herself. Alex, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Mitch. How are you and Polly?
Doing really well. When do I not intro you again as the daughter of a pro sports bettor and just call you a professional sports bettor?
Hey, I don't know. I don't know that answer, but hopefully soon enough, right? I'm pretty proud of that one, that Circa Invitational, and you're not always that proud of second, but that one feels good. So maybe I'm on my way.
I would say so. You were red hot down the stretch, well, pretty much the entire year, but awesome way to close out the season. Let's carry it over to tonight and this weekend here. Do you have a best bet now? These numbers have been changing a little bit today with the total as well. Do you have a best bet right now between Notre Dame and Penn State?
What's the total?
I see as high as 46 right now.
I know it's going the opposite way. I love this under. I actually made this game 40, and I see strength on strength here where Notre Dame and Riley Leonard, he's a dual threat guy. Penn State's really good against the run, and then vice versa. We've got Drew Aller, who's a pocket passer, and Notre Dame's defense is stellar against the pass. So I really think this is going to be a rock fight here. So I like that under, and I took under 45.5, so now everybody's getting an even better number there.
Any opinion on the side?
I don't really like my Notre Dame number. I had them 2.5, and I kind of stayed away from that. And the more I dove into this, I was leaning to Penn State here. And I just think they've been tested, played a tough schedule in the Big Ten. And I know Notre Dame had a couple, the first game of the year, Texas A&M, and you could say Georgia last week. But really, 16 points offensively, if it weren't for their special teams putting up 7, I don't know how that game would have gone. And a turnover, short field for them offensively. So I worry about them there. I think Penn State has more ways to win, so leaning to Penn State in that one.
Well, okay, what do your numbers say on Texas and Ohio State based on how great Ohio State has looked in the playoff, outscored Oregon and Tennessee by 45 points and outgained them by 440 yards? But then we go back to the Michigan game and how they struggled at times in the regular season. What do your numbers call for with Ohio State, Texas?
See, and this one's a little alarming too, Paulie, because I made Ohio State 3.5. So seeing that 6, you'd think I'd automatically want to take the points there. But first thing I ever learned from my dad and my grandfather is not to overreact, right? So the last couple of weeks I adjusted just like I did throughout the regular season. And there I am at 3.5. I do still believe in Texas's defense, though. And I know that they gave up some points to Arizona State and they took them to overtime. But I still think that's a really good defense that can hang around in that one. But I'm not betting the side. I'm very impressed with what I saw from Ohio State. And I also, throughout the year, I still had Ohio State above Oregon after they lost to Oregon. They were still really high, 1 and 2, until they lost to Michigan. And so what their real number is, I think it would be even higher.
Okay. And you're leaning the under on that game as well?
I am leaning the under on that game as well. And like I said about Texas, 4th in points allowed this year, and people say they didn't have the toughest SEC. They still played a pretty good SEC schedule, 3rd in total yards allowed. And then Ohio State's just been awesome, especially in the playoffs, number 1 in the country, total yards allowed and points allowed. So leaning to the under there in that one. I think Texas will be able to slow down that offense just a little bit.
So we've been kicking around like money line parlays this weekend, including the wild card round of the NFL playoffs, like which team is going to lose. Are you confident enough to put in like a money line bet or a money line parlay in the NFL this weekend?
So I'm going up against 2 teams that are kind of limping into the playoffs here, right? And that's the Houston Texans and the Green Bay Packers. I like the other side there. Very confident in the Chargers. This defense has been awesome all year long, number 1 in points allowed. Jim Harbaugh has been playing with so much confidence. So I am confident, even with them on the road. I think they get that win. Not that confident to lay the 2.5 or 3. It could be a field goal game. On the other side, the Eagles, good news with Jalen Hurts. Plus, they proved that they could still win without him. Didn't really matter who was at quarterback, but of course, much better with him, Saquon Barkley. So I like the Eagles to get that win too. Tie those two up, money line. I got like plus 140 there for both of those just to win outright.
That's good. I'm intrigued. And then how are you attacking the Washington-Tampa Bay game, which I think a lot of these games are going to be entertaining. This might be the most entertaining of all of them.
I agree. Two really good offenses here. Washington finished 4th in points per game, and then Washington finished 5th in points per game, and Tampa Bay finished 4th. Baker Mayfield continues to impress us here as a Buccaneer. So I was leaning to laying the points with Tampa Bay, the experience. We saw them last year go in the playoffs and upset Philadelphia. But then diving deeper into it, both of these defenses can give up a ton of points as well. So even at it's the highest total on the board this weekend, I went over 49.5. I'm still okay at 50 going over that one.
All right. Do you like anything? I'm going to put you on the spot right now. Do you like anything in college basketball tonight?
I like something in hockey.
Okay, that works.
I thought so. I don't think any Columbus Blue Jacket game should be 6. I made this game 7 here between the Kraken and the Blue Jackets, so I like over 6 a lot in that one. They give up some goals. They're 31st in goals allowed, 3.61, but they can score. They're 5th right now, averaging 3.37 per game. So I like that over a lot. And I like the Minnesota Wild getting a nice plus price here tonight. And I know the Avs have been much better as of late in their goalie changes and having Mackenzie Blackwood, that's helped them a lot. But Philip Gustafson missed a little bit with injury. He's still getting back into rhythm. I think Minnesota's the right side as the home team here, getting a good plus price. I got plus 130 on them.
All right. Phenomenal. You can follow Alex on X. Use that Alex White with 2 E's on the end. And also she does that show called Sports by the Book at the South Point, which is on YouTube as well. Alex, that was great. Congrats on a great season again. Thank you and best of luck this week.
Thank you, Polly and Mitch. Always good to talk to you guys.
You too.
There you go. She joined us on the Progressive guest line.
Makes sense on the over. Number 1 over team in hockey with Columbus. Good job.
So, globally speaking, I'm seeing like 46 on this game tonight. I don't think anything stateside has anything higher than 45.5.
Why they're doing that, but they did the same thing in the Georgia game, as Brad pointed out.
That's right.
The over.
That's right.
That's interesting.
Good breakdown from her. She is super sharp and absolutely, as you can tell, knows what she's talking about. You got some college basketball? How about hockey? Sure.
You like anything in hoops?
Props.
Just props?
I was close to unloading on a bunch of props tonight, but I showed some restraint and I have like 4.
College basketball is getting interesting. Some wild stuff happening night in, night out. I still can't get past when I'm looking at Michigan and UCLA as a conference game.
I can't wrap my head around
me
it.
off so much. Oregon.
Tonight's Washington and Michigan State. How dumb.
Yeah.
How dumb is this that they're playing these midweek games all the way across the country?
Yeah.
There's no, God, I agree. I thought I kicked this around with somebody who I respect in college basketball today about adding Illinois to win the national title. They have incredible metrics right now.
It's a hell of a win against Oregon.
Oh my God, they went there and won like by 30.
Yeah.
Scored more. They beat Penn State by 50. I get it. It's Penn State basketball. But I was talked off of it.
Why?
Because the ceiling, this person told me, was maybe Final Four. Maybe. And it would depend on the absolute draw. They cannot see this team winning the national title. They like them, but they're far from being like in love with them. They're good. You go to KenPom and look at all these numbers. Illinois hits like every like historical metric that you're looking for right now. So, but I didn't do it. I also, if you wait too long, like these numbers, that 32-1 in Illinois, if you like them, that might be 15 soon. Did I say this on the air? Or was it to you? I can't remember. I was looking at Florida like in November, early. They're blasting teams. And remember, Florida's offense was elite last year, and they played Colorado in the first round. It was 100 points apiece, I think. They lost the game down to the wire. And I'm watching them just destroy everybody in their path. I'm looking at 40 or above on them. I'm like, nah, I probably missed like 60, so I'm not going to take 40. And then they just kept playing really, really well, got down to 20, and then they had that great game against Kentucky, and they killed Tennessee. Oh, that's like 12 or 15-1 now. So those numbers, bye-bye. But the two teams at the very top of KenPom's ratings anyway, Duke and Auburn, are just, they might be super special and they're at the very end.
Iowa State's a real deal too.
Yeah, they're good.
It's also going to be nuts to see come March the bracket. What you're going to you're going to have 13 SEC teams in the tournament.
So that means you're going to have
How you gonna
multiple.
do that?
They'll be playing in the second round then.
Yes.
You're going to have to be
Yes.
if they win those games.
Imagine what the conference tournament will look like.
Oh.
All these ranked teams and how good they are.
It'll be phenomenal. We'll get to our best bets for today. In Pocket Plays next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.